Hi everybody, it's Tamara from Prairie Town Girl here on Etc. Eyes, and I just had an epic craft fail. Well, it's not that bad, but it's pretty bad. I was making this lovely journal cover with all of you guys. I was taping it all, and all of a sudden I realized because I hadn't followed the directions on my Crackle medium, I had done it all wrong. So we're gonna do this again. Luckily, I'm just working with junk, and you know, it's not that big a deal if you make a mistake. So I've got a little, this is gonna be a mini journal. I got a little shake and bake box. You can use any box you want. And this is going, I'm just going to take these tabs off while I'm talking to you. If you follow me, and I hope you do, we did this project, we did a very similar project a few videos ago, and I will link it above, where we use a box to make a journal. And I was quite surprised at how popular that video is, actually. I thought it was a pretty mainstream idea, but it hit a... It seemed to inspire a lot of people, so that was awesome. And we're going to use that same sort of idea, but we're going to do something very different with the cover. So you got it like this, then you just need to figure out which of these side flaps do you want to keep. So I just sort of figure out which one is a little bit stronger, which one is in better condition. On some boxes, one side is just really, really narrow. This one seems to have two pretty good flaps, so I think I will, this one feels just a little bit stronger though, so I think I'm going to cut this side off. There we go. And on this one, I want to round my corners. My corner rounder is still not working, so I always have to pull out my envelope board to round my corners. Okay, so my journal, my box is actually going to be upside down because I'm going to have this come around to the front. And if you watch that journal, or sorry, that video from a few weeks ago, you'll know you can also just have it wrap around the back too. Whatever you like best. So today, oh, you know what? So we're going to start by putting down some paint on this. And then we're going to add the Crackle medium, and then we're going to put the white paint on top of that. And then when the white paint dries, it should crackle and you should see what's underneath. That's the plan anyways. And underneath, I want to put some brighter colors so that they really kind of come through. And I'm just thinking I need more than one brush, but that's okay. I'll make this work. So let's start with this crazy bright blue. I don't even know why I have these colors in my stash. I don't. All of a sudden I remembered the project that I made with these. It was a very long time ago, and it was for my niece and nephew when they were very young. So I'm just going to put a few little splotches down. And I'm just going to spread it around a little bit. So we do want to cover up what's underneath here. But this layer doesn't need to be pretty. Because this is all going to be covered up. So this is going to take several steps because you have lots of layers of paint that need to dry in between. So I'm going to let this blue paint dry, and then all these blank areas I'm going to add the pink paint. So I will be back. And actually the acrylic paint, this is just plain old all-purpose acrylic crafter's paint. It doesn't take too long to dry. I think like within an hour or so this will be dry and I can put another layer of the pink on. So I'll be back in just a moment. Well, my paint is all dry. Doesn't that look pretty? And now the next step is to add the crackle medium. And I want to still be able to try to do these transfers again. So I have sort of a vague idea. I think I want one. Oh, I better double check and make sure how I'm doing this. So this is my cover. Yeah, I want one here and one sort of there. And so I want to put my crackle sort of around that, and that'll make it, hopefully that will make it easier to when I want to iron those down. So I think I'm just going to take a little pencil here and sort of very gently mark off this area. So I don't want to crackle in there. But I am going to put it everywhere else. I'm going to put lots because I really want it to crack. I want to be able to see the paint underneath. This doesn't have to be pretty at this point. We're getting there though. Okay, and make sure I go on the flap too, the flap that's going to come across the front cover. And it doesn't have to be even either. You can have some parts that have big cracks and some that's really subtle and not as easy to see. Now I don't really need to go over the spine because I'm likely going to be covering that with something anyway. There. Oh, this isn't a very good paintbrush because I'm losing bristles everywhere. Okay, so now I'm gonna let that dry, and you'll see it start to bubble a little bit, especially where I've put in lots. And then once that dries, then we go over it with our contrasting color, which is the color that you're going to be able to see. So I will be back as soon as this dries. Okie doke, so my sheet is all dry, and now the magic happens. Sorry, the lighting is a little wonky. It is after, around dinner time right now when I'm filming. I need to have something white on the screen so that it adjusts the white, because it's already getting dark here early in the evenings. I told you winter comes early here, so just have to make do. Hopefully it won't go too yellow if I keep something white in the screen. Anyways, our next step is to take the white paint and go all over the whole thing. And hopefully we will see some crackling. Let's see. Pretty messy, but I don't know if you can see that, but it's already starting to crackle a little bit. I'm just gonna let it dry for a little bit, I think, and then I think I might have to come back in these spots where I didn't put the crackle, and put another layer of paint on there just to smooth that out a little bit, but this will be okay. This is crackling over here a little bit. It will look better once it's done, I promise. Right now it just looks like a big mess, but it's coming along. Stay tuned. Okie dokie, here is my crackled cover, and I think what I'm going to do next is go over to the ironing board, and we will see if I can get my transfers to go on these two blank spots here. Wish me luck. So I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to put it down here in the corner. My iron is nice and hot. I'm going to try it first with nothing in between the paper and the iron, and no steam, and my iron is on as hot as it can go. Let's see what happens. Ta-da! It worked! Yay! I think on my other times that I tried, because I put something in between the iron and the transfer, maybe it was just too much. So anyways, that looks great. So let's try this other one over here. I'm just gonna flip it so that the iron is closer. Let's try again, see if it works again. I'm super happy with that. I see that for some reason the paint it's quite see-through down here all of a sudden, so I'm just going to touch that up, maybe add a little bit more crackle around the transfer. But so far so good. So let's go back over to the craft table. Well, I think I got it about as far as I'm going to get it. I have been working on this for about a week, so it is time to move on. And it doesn't actually take that long. It's just that I every night after I was done work, I would like find another little place to touch it up, and then I'd have to let that dry, and then I'd put more paint on, and then I'd have to let that dry, and then so it just goes on and on. So at some point you have to say, all right, time to move on. But while the paint was drying, I put together some signatures, and I did a few other things. One of the other things I did was I painted the inside white, because I think what I want to do is line it with this great tissue paper. And this came in one of my Happy Mails. And this is, the text says things like, what a lovely time of year, flowers blooming bring cheer, flowers, flowers everywhere, in the garden, in my hair. It's really cute anyways. So I'm just going to put this down with some Mod Podge, I think, and I just realized I should bring this guy back so I don't make a big mess. And I've run out of Mod Podge. I used up my whole great big jar, but luckily I had this little guy in my stash, so I'm going to use it up. I'm on a mission to use up the stuff. So just slop it on. Make sure you go right to the edge. And Mod Podge can dry quite quickly. You might be wondering, well, why did she paint it if she's just going to cover it anyways? But usually when you Mod Podge something with a white background, it becomes sort of translucent. So I didn't want the cardboard shining through. I feel like I want more Mod Podge under there. This might be why I go through it so fast, because I use so much. But you get much smoother finish when there's lots under there. Otherwise you get air bubbles. There's a few, it's a little bit wrinkly, but that's okay. It adds to the character. So I'm going to let that dry a little bit before I cut off the edges. And then I've got a fun way to finish the spine and the closure here. And if you want to put a little bit on the top, just to seal it all in there, that's okay too. Alright, back in a flash. Okay, so it's all dry. I trimmed off the edges and I inked a little bit, and now we are ready to make the closure. So there's a couple things you can do. I want to use a button and some elasticized thread to hold my journal closed. So what most people would do would be to put your button over on this little flap and have your thread coming out of the spine. I want to do it the other way around, of course. I want to put the button on the spine and put my thread coming out of the little flap. But before we do any of that, what I'm going to do is add a few elasticized threads to the spine, because I'm going to make this like a traveler's notebook style. But I want the thread to be visible on the outside. Now this is quite old elasticized thread. It's from my sewing stash. I don't know how much life it has left. Hopefully it will hold and it won't break. So I'm going to do 2 signatures, I think. So I'll do 2 sets of threads. If all goes according to plan, you won't even really see these. I want those to be sort of on either side of the center, and maybe just to keep myself straight, I'm going to put a little hole in the center. So you can see I want my threads on either side there. Now what I can do is add my decoration to my spine. I will have to punch that hole again to get the hole back in the fabric, but that's okay. I want to use this fabric. It's just going to come around the front just a tiny bit, I think. And that will hold those signature threads in place, but I'll still be able to maneuver there. So I'm going to use a wet glue. And I've fringed the sides a little bit. And we'll just lay that down. It's the tiniest bit short. But if you're using a cotton, you can usually stretch it a little bit. And you can see the glue is seeping through the fabric a little bit, which is why I don't normally use wet glue when I'm using fabric, but it will dry. It'll all be fine. Okay, let me get that hole back in there again. So I could have just waited and did my hole now. I didn't have to do it twice, but sometimes that's how I do things. I do things twice. Okay, so I've got some waxed thread here. I don't know if that's enough, but we'll see. Now, which button? I've got a few choices here. I've got this round one, and I've got a flower. I don't know if you can see that. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't tell if it's in focus or not. And I've got this pretty pink flower as well. I really like this round one, and it does have a flower on the end. The only thing you do need to be mindful of is that your button has a shank. And by shank, I mean it sits, it's not flat. It has this part here that makes it sit higher than the surface. So because you want your thread to be able to come around it and maybe even under it. You can use a flat button, but it will be a little bit harder to secure your closure. So I'm going to use this one. Here's my thread here. Don't even think I need a needle. I should be able to do this. So I'm just going to go through the button like that. I'm going to pull both ends through the hole. So you can see how it sits above there. And then I'm just going to tie it. Tie it nice and tight. If you're using a wax thread like I am, it shouldn't let go. If you're not super confident, you can put a little dab of glue on there just to be sure. Okay, now we need somewhere for this closure thread to come out, so I'm going to put another little hole over here. Just going to make a little mark. Oh, actually, no. You know what I'm going to do? I cut some reinforcement for the hole, so I'm going to put that on first. So I wanted to use some of this tissue paper that I used on the inside of the cover, and I just thought I'd remind you of my little trick. When you have a really lightweight, fragile piece of paper and you want to use a punch, you just put a sturdier piece of paper behind it, you punch it, and it should come out just fine. So I have two of each now. So I think what I'm going to do is wrap. I'm going to put this here, and then I'll put one of those guys on like that, and then I will punch through it. And I'm just going to use a glue stick for that. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. And then, of course, you need a hole in there. And I'm going to make a smaller hole because my thread's kind of thin. You don't have to use elasticized thread. You could use a ribbon and have it like wind around, or have it wind around that way, however you want to do it. I just thought I'd try something a little bit different. But when you are using elasticized thread, of course, you're going to make it a little bit shorter than the actual length so that it stretches a bit. So somewhere around there should work, hopefully. And I'm going to put a knot in the end with my sticky fingers. finally went and got my glasses so I can see what I'm doing. Stop being so stubborn and just put them on. Okay. But my fingers are still sticky, so. Put the top of the loop through the hole. Pull it through. Loop it like that through the other end. Whew, there we go. There's our little closure. So that just wraps right around the button. Okay, so my button popped right out. So I had to take the thread out again, and I'm going to redo it. I have a longer piece of thread. We're going to secure it a little bit better. Put one knot here, and then let's bring the ends through just like we did before. Pull it through. Make sure it's nice and tight. Do a few knots. You don't want it to interfere with those signature threads because those will be on the inside of your signatures right away. Okay, so I'm going to use this other little leftover circle that I have here. Cut those down, and I'm going to secure this down with that, and I'm going to use some heavier duty glue. There we go. And then I will put my circle down. Now hopefully that will hold things in place once it dries. Just like that. So there is a little bump where the knot is, but that is okay. That will show up in between the signatures. It won't interfere with anything, I don't think. Alright, let's try that again. Where is my thread here? Barely against, there we go. Okay, ta-da. There we go. I thought this one would look cute, like if this is on a bookshelf or something like that. It's almost like a little handle to pull it out. All right, now what do we have left? We need some signatures. I think I need to cut these down a little bit, and I haven't done any decorating or anything like that, but I'll just give you an idea of what it would look like. Just throw a couple in here. These are just extra printouts from other projects and scraps and all that kind of thing, and they would just fit in like that. So you can see I do need to, well, I don't know, do I need to cut them down? It is a junk journal. Doesn't really matter if things are sticking out or not, but it would be like that when closed, and when you open it up, you got pages. So I need to do some work on decorating and playing around with the inside a little bit, but for the most part, there you go. So mostly this was an experiment to see if I could get the transfers working on paint, which it seems to do, so that's really great. I can let my imagination soar now. And I do like the crackle finish. It adds a lot of nice texture. I'll just be a little more careful next time, I think, with what I put under the crackle. I am going to try this again, I think, on another journal. So there you go. It took a while, but in the long run, I'm not unhappy with it. It was a fun experiment. Well, all my layers were drying, though, I did work on that very first one I showed you that I said was like a major craft fail. And I think I fixed it, and I think I like it better than this one. It actually turned out really cool. So make sure you stay tuned, and I will post a video of that other one probably in a few days from now. So yeah, make sure you come back and check that out. Anyways, I hope this gives you some ideas. Sometimes it's fun to just experiment and see what happens, and I think it's important to share the failures as well as the successes, so that you guys know, we all mess up from time to time, and there is a way to save those ones that don't go quite according to plan. So anyways, I'm sure I will have a flip through of this once I get it all decorated up, so make sure you come visit me over on Instagram, or I'll share some more pictures, and come back again for more videos. So thank you so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful day, and keep crafting. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.